I got you by double times two.
Yeah. You see, we're in man-to-man. You're in zone defense. Good luck with that. Okay. Yeah. Jerry talked about having a third, and I'm like, I'm not going to zone. We're man-to-man right now. It's good enough.
Welcome back to another episode of Endure Athletics Podcast. Today we are joined by Tom Isom. Tom, thank you for joining us this morning. It's great to see you again.
Joel, it's always an honor to be included in anything that Endure does. So I really appreciate being included. Thanks.
You know, a lot of these podcasts have been bringing everything back to the beginning of Endure Athletics. And I remember first meeting you 6 years ago, really, probably very close to this time.
Yep.
And we were talking about Endure and, through the running club and then what we were going to do on Saturdays. And then all of a sudden you said, I'm going to be there. I remember feeling so intimidated to having the big colonel coming in like, I'm going to show up on this Saturday. And you and your wife and your kids showed up, and it's just awesome to see it, how it's evolved since then. And I'm just curious if you can remember back to that point. Not saying you're old and can't remember. But what intrigued you with wanting to do that and getting your involvement, your family's involvement, your wife's involvement?
I remember it a little differently, but we connected through the running club, and the girls hit it off with your girls, and Jerry hit it off with Jeannie, and it was all a very friendly environment. And you began to explain to me this foundation and what you were doing, and it was intriguing to me. I was approaching the end of my military career. I was getting ready to retire, and there are things the military provides that were going to disappear, and one of those is a sense of service.
Sure.
And so I heard this foundation. Wow. And Joel's a great guy, and they're a great family. And I remember it not saying, hey, I'm going to show up on Saturday. I remember it asking, hey, can I show up on Saturday?
Yeah.
And you did. You permitted me. And of course, it was much more family oriented. We brought the family because that military environment was gone for the family as well. That sense of belonging, that sense of contributing to something greater than yourself. And so it clicked, and it was so much fun to go out and feel that sense of service with a great organization.
When you were back from Korea, right?
The tour prior to this, my last tour, I worked for the state of Tennessee National Guard. But prior to that, I was the chief of current operations in Korea for the Army.
How many years were you back in Tennessee?
I was back.
I'm sorry, but I felt like your family just came back. Like everybody.
We were not back very long.
Okay. That's what I was.
They beat me back here by several months. I actually didn't get here till August. They got back in May. And then, so right about this time in October timeframe is when we met you.
Yeah.
And the looming retirement was coming, and that's a pretty emotional event for any soldier and their family. But that wasn't so much an effect on my family. It was just the fact that we went from a very tight-knit, closed military community to now living the life that was going to be after retirement. And there's very little connection, and there's very little sense of service, and there's like I said, a lot of things disappeared from the military, by the military, disappeared for us that Endure provided for us and filled that hole. And so we were very grateful for the opportunity.
Like, so are we. And just thinking the years that have gone by, and just to have people buy into your mission and your vision, and somebody of your stature. I know I said that earlier about being intimidated, but it's true. I was just a guy with a vision, not really knowing exactly how any of this was going to pan out. Would people really get involved? You were our first volunteer family, right?
Yeah.
That's
it was a righteous cause. And so, and I've explained it to you, and I don't really want to get too in depth here, but there's many different types of PTSD. And one of them are moral wounds. and I do suffer PTSD, and I have moral wounds, and many of those moral wounds center around atrocities on children. And being able to contribute to children locally is it helps me. I'll be honest. It's selfish. It helps, and it's a great opportunity to make an impact where I live.
Yeah,
but it also helps me personally. So it's not completely altruistic here.
Well, that's powerful. I mean, that's it's because through that, and then I mean, what you've done in the relationships that you've built with these kids, I mean, they're still there, right? They're still there on Saturdays. And be able to see them, little Jay, let's just call him little Jay. He's now Big Jay. And
he's not little Jay anymore.
And dive, and then you kept going, right? You didn't just come on a Saturday and did this. You're like, what else can I do? How else can I get involved? And we all know that that meals are so important to the kids that we serve. And what are they going to eat? I mean, you brought that to my attention. Well, what are they going to have after this Saturday meal? What are they going to have on Sundays? And that was a big part of,
as I got involved and began to learn more details about these children's situation, not just their living situation and parental and family, but also nutritional. And there was a comment that you had made, and he goes, well, this, because you were feeding breakfasts, from day one. And you made the comment, well, this is likely the last meal many of these children are going to have until they get to school Monday morning. And so, I've got a bit of perspective. I've seen extraordinarily disadvantaged children overseas in different environments. And I heard that, and I said, no, not in my neighborhood, not in my house.
Amen.
And, I wasn't going to let that happen. So I talked to Jerry, and we had it in the budget. We set aside money. And I said, look, we're going to give you some take-home meals. And it was a much smaller scale back then. It was only about 12 to 15 kids. It's grown much greater since then. But I was not going to stand for that, and not, like I said, not in my neighborhood, not in my city. Kids are not going to sit in a hotel room starving until they get to school Monday morning.
And you really champion that cause. I mean, I just got to hand it to you. I mean, that is, when you start something, you don't see it all, right? Like you go in and you sometimes narrow focused and you don't see it all. And, you just bringing that to my attention too. Like even through the conversation, like, well, we can help fill that need. And you filled it, and you filled it for years. I mean, the amount of Ziploc bags and the nutrition and the healthy part of what those meals were, man, just such a blessing to so many kids. And it's a tradition that we're keeping on to this day, years and years later. So really, really, really thankful for that.
It was a Friday tradition for me. I believe me, I had it down to a science.
I know you did.
I knew exactly how much bread, how much meat, where, cost effectiveness of which stores to go to and things, and to build this stuff. It was a real enjoyment for me because it's hands-on. It's doing, and you see the enjoyment the kids get when they're handed that lunch.
So one of the best things that I can say with how much you were hands-on with all that is when you guys weren't going to be there and you asked a friend to fill those needs for you, and you walked them through the whole process. Here's the list.
Right. Yes.
This is it. You got to have the mayonnaise. You got to have those things, put in there.
I understand. You're talking 27 years military experience. Things were very organized and very planned, and I want things done right. And so I wasn't going to hand it off to somebody to just kind of wing it. So
that's awesome. And then through that, you and your family and your church group really started to kind of take over the Christmas meals, and talking about being a champion for that, and the boxes and this, that, and the other. What
my life group from my church that we attend every week, they're already asking, what are we doing? They were disappointed last year, COVID. You went a different route with Slick Pig and the Jones Foundation stepping in, but they're already asking, what are we doing? Are we doing that? Because it provided them a huge hands-on.
Explain to our listeners what we're talking about.
Okay. So Joel, and one thing I greatly admire about Joel is the way he does things right. No, Thanksgiving meal is served on Thanksgiving Day. You don't serve it a couple days prior and cut them loose for the weekend. Christmas meal is served Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. And so here comes Christmas one year, and we're going to figure out how to feed, we'll just say, a dozen families a Christmas meal. And it wasn't my decision, but it was decided upon lasagna.
Yeah.
And so lasagna, a side of beans, bread, and a dessert. And that was a cost-effective, efficient way to deliver Christmas meal to a family in need.
Yeah.
And so I talked to my life group, who had about the right amount of people, couples in it, and said, hey, let's do this. Because I know for a fact in the year prior, you did it yourself. You and your family did that by yourself. I think it was probably 10 meals, and it robbed you of your Christmas. It robbed your Christmas Day. That's a lot of effort. And I explained it to my life group. This is a double win. We give these families a Christmas meal, and we give the Bigelows their Christmas Day back. And so they're all excited about it. So, and like I said, they're already asking again, are we doing it again this year? We'll figure that out after we're done.
And just talking about that too, just adding to that, just how you guys open your home, you guys were the drop-off location on Christmas Day,
right?
2 young kids in your own house having Christmas Day, and everybody dropping off their meals to your house, but we come and pick them up. So you have also sacrificed,
it's not even a sacrifice. It's an increased. We get to see our life group on Christmas Day and wish them, a Merry Christmas, and it's a very social, powerful thing, and awesome. And it keeps them involved. It keeps them attuned to what's going on. And everything's not always perfect here in Murfreesboro, and it keeps people attuned to that.
Absolutely.
And they get to spread the word as well.
Yes. So talking about growth, talking about all these different things, and you really seen it from the beginning. What's been impactful for you with Endure? What's been one of your good memories throughout this period of time? What would you say to others? Or
my enduring good memory is little now Big J.
Yeah.
And watching a very young, painfully introverted child turn into the young man that he is today. Yes. And we can talk about the success of his brother as being an example of that, but to be able to show up and have an intelligent conversation with that young man and listen to him brag about his grades and brag about his football, and not be that completely shut down. That to me is the impact of Endure on a personal level in this young man. But then I watched the group. I watch young ladies, father of daughters, young ladies go from almost living in a permanent state of victimhood. When they first get in the program, I can see that. I don't know about you. And within months, they become stronger, more confident young ladies, and be able to operate socially much more confidently, whether it's with boys or girls, and the social skills that they're learning, and the confidence not to be a permanent victim, whether it's their circumstances or whatever it may be. So that growth. And then I watch you. And this is so much fun, and you are an inspiration to me as well. Going from, man, we're just going to scratch out these Saturdays, and it turned into some lunches, and then it turned into after school program, and then it turned into summer program, and now you're talking about getting your facility. The growth, it's not, yours is not a static vision, and that's what drives this organization. And you're looking for more. You personally have gone from a very internally focused individual, internally organizationally focused on how how we do Saturday morning, how we feed lunches, how we to having the confidence to turn that over to somebody else, and now look externally and establish contacts with the Jones Foundations and all these other external organizations that are going to empower you to grow that vision. And that's been a whole lot of fun to watch as well.
You know, I was going to ask, like, why do you stay around? Why are you still here? Why are you still in, you know, and does that have something to do with just seeing the growth and seeing that it's not static? Does that encourage you? And
absolutely, you know, the moral wounds never go away.
Sure.
So I always need that little salve, you know, and that helps every time. But to be involved with an organization that is growing, that is dynamic, that is providing such a significant impact in this community is, and like I said, that sense, you know, one of the Army values is selfless service.
Yes.
And this kind of fills the hole for me. This is serving a greater purpose than my own selfish little life or my own selfish little family, and making an impact. And that I've been involved with several nonprofits here in and around town, and I've walked away because they are not dynamic. They are not impactful. They are not efficient. You know, all the things that Endure is.
Well, I appreciate that. And just to dive into that a little bit deeper, I mean, you have made an impact on that. You have sat with me, talk about operations. Hey, you know, what does this look like? What does that look like? Let me give you that help there. I mean, we met for weeks and weeks and weeks, and pouring into me that leadership skills, those other things. Hey, you can let that go. Who do you have that can handle that thing? You can't do it all. You got to figure that out. Let me help you figure that out. Who can do X, Y, and Z? So that part has been not only seeing you on Saturdays and other different things, but I truly appreciate, like, again, you believing in me and pouring into me and helping me get those, learn those qualities that I need as far as leadership goes, as far as letting stuff go, you know, and keeping that mind frame. So that again, just I never knew how our relationship would also evolve like this.
No, leader development is such an integral part of a military officer's career. You know, the Army must endure. You know, people come and go. People are joining the Army and retiring every day.
Yeah.
But the organization must endure. And the only way that's going to happen is to develop a legacy of competence and leaders and things. So it's just a very natural thing for leaders to do from the military. And to find the opportunity to continue that after my departure from the military was very fulfilling. So it was very fulfilling. And then it was even more fulfilling to see it bear fruit. You know, throughout the military and civilian world, you can invest time and effort in many people just to have it just go away. And that's just the nature of everything.
Yeah.
Look, Joe, I'll tell you, and this tends to put people off, but I'll just say it. And one thing I learned coming from Korea and then living in a very civilian area, I'm not near Fort Campbell. There's no military post, and I'm surrounded by civilians. And what I've come to determine is common people suck. And you've heard me say that
Absolutely.
before. They suck. They're self-centered. They're selfish. They're only worried about their own condition, sometimes to the fault of their own children. I mean, we see that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be associated with those people. Joe, you are not common. You are very uncommon. I would put you in the top, 2 or 3% across this community of that uniqueness, and I want to be associated with that.
Thank you. Trent knows I try not to cry on every episode, but it does happen.
We'll squeak a few out of there. Squeak a few true.
So just developing that leadership and knowing in what you've learned through the Army and different things, and then bringing that to the nonprofit world, such as ours. You've also developed a business out of that. And the last one, I know, was at the battlefield, and you had a lot of nonprofits that were there. Why was that important to you to open your doors to nonprofits? Why is it important for you to to pour into others as far as your knowledge goes?
Right. So the business was really born of an idea of another retired colonel in town who he and I actually fought in Desert Storm together.
Okay.
There's a process in the Army, and we call it a staff ride, where we take a unit's leadership and we'll study a battle inside and out. People do biographies on specific leaders and the actions, and and then we'll visit that battlefield and we'll walk that battlefield and we'll talk the full gamut, whether it's tactics, whether it's decision making or leadership and things like that. And it's a very impactful development event.
Better than Zoom.
Yeah. Yes. So, well, the fact is, we live on a remarkable battlefield from the Civil War, the Battle of Stones River. And he had an idea. Let's adapt the staff ride to business leadership. And so many people we run into, I ran into you, and you were like, yeah, provide me some of this experience. There's a thirst for leadership and development out there. And so we said, well, let's come up with a business that can feed that demand. And so we've adapted the staff ride on Stones River battlefield to develop leadership. And we use the Army's leadership model, and we talk the battle from one end to the other about leaders and things. And so this is a paid event. We charge people to come. And it's fun for us. We like developing, we like interacting with people like that. But then you spoke about the event we did last May.
Yeah.
So every year, and this is a commitment Jeff and I have made, 10% of our profits go to nonprofits. We have several that we're aligned with right now. We're both classified as disabled veterans, and we're still paying back to the community. So we've committed every year around the Memorial Day timeframe that we will do a free event for nonprofits, for the people who are already committed to giving back to our community. We will give to them.
That's awesome.
And so that was the event. We had True, one of your staff members, attend, and so we had Red Cross, we had Habitat for Humanity, we had Endure, we had MTSU folks, people who are giving, we gave to them. And that again is part of that selfless service and what a value.
Excuse me. Like you said, True went, and man, he came back fired up, and all the knowledge that he gained and all the information, and just how you guys, you line it all up with a proper, with the emails, and not just the email, but the information in the emails to know what's happening and all those different things, and the follow up. Super impressive, super excited to see how you guys continue to grow that and do those different things.
Yeah. So the shameless plug here is it's 3ELA, stands for 3 Eagles Leadership Alliance. And it's 3ELA.net. Couldn't get .com. It was already taken, but it's out there. It's a little slow right now because of COVID. It's live training. It's face to face. It is outdoor predominantly, but still it's COVID has reduced its traffic right now. It'll come back. Absolutely. And we'll be ready.
Yeah. And we will also put that in the comments.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But
we'll post that in the comments down below. Well, Tom, trying to see here if there's anything that I am missing on my side. No, I think that it's going back to like what you're saying, just how you got involved and why you got involved, and the selfless service, just huge points, and just I don't, that it's for you and for us, and that it can be, I guess volunteering can be mutual, right? Well, it doesn't have to be give, and I don't get like and that's okay. And it's okay.
Right.
It's not like it's not okay. Like, oh, it's not about me. It's not about, it can be, we can all feel warm and fuzzies together. And that's okay.
It's contributing together. And it's just like leadership development. You're not teaching a leader to simply be a better leader and give. It has to be self-enriching for it to be a positive growth
Yes.
continuous growth environment. You hear about it all the time. Kids, well, I'm going to go to Europe and find myself, and things like this. Well, the only thing you're going to find in Europe are high prices and rude French people. I've always said, you want to find yourself, give yourself away.
Yeah.
Give yourself away. Go do something, not for yourself, 3, 6 months, a year, volunteer for, endure and commit. And at the end of that time, you'll find out who you are.
Yes.
You'll find out what enriches you. You'll find out what interests you.
Commit.
Yeah.
That was the key word that
it's not pretend. It's not just come in and do your, punch the clock and move out.
The commitment
you commit to an organization. And it doesn't have to be Endure. It could be, Peace Corps, Red Cross. There's a myriad of organizations that you can commit to that have positive impact.
Yeah.
Not focused on yourself.
Yeah.
But again, you find that enrichment for yourself by giving.
So before we conclude, last year you went viral. Crazy viral that we had no idea what the heck was going on.
I was unprepared.
So then you brought Endure into this thing. Yeah. So would you just again explain to our audience kind of what this Halloween skeleton?
Well, one of my favorite holidays has always been Halloween. Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun holiday. And so at this point, being retired during the Halloween time, I essentially become a very well-resourced 12-year-old. and so no, I have fun posing skeletons around my yard, having fun with it. And it's really turned into a kind of a community thing. And then last year it turned into a viral online social media kind of phenomenon. And so,
how many views?
Last year, one of my scenes got a little over 250,000 views, which was, I was completely unprepared for that. And we can get back out and see some of those pictures still on the net. It's kind of scary, but no, we're going to do it again. It'll be a little more organized, and we'll tag in Endure and get an easy way to just, drop $1 or $2 into Endure's coffers if you enjoy the work that I do in my front yard with some skeletons doing some fun things.
Yeah. So we were amazed by all that. And Tom, he got a hold of me last year and like, hey, this thing's going crazy. We want to do it. We might as well throw it in a good cause and different things. And we literally got hundreds and hundreds of different donors that have come in throughout the whole U.S. And one of them was actually overseas.
Awesome. Yeah, it is, it can be immediately overwhelming. It was our neighbor who put it online, and it went.
Bam.
And she goes, hey, we're already over 100,000 views now. Well, I don't want these people in my front yard. Wait, what?
Yeah.
But then you realize it's going to happen. And so if we're going to do that, we ought to make some positivity out of it. So we tied in. We're going to do it again this year. Tell everybody, keep your eyes out.
Yeah, we will.
Endure will point you our way, and then we'll point you back at Endure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Tom, again, I just want to thank you. I don't know if I've thanked you enough throughout all the years.
Every day you do.
And it just is it's amazing. It's amazing to see people that continue to walk with us, continue to walk with the mission and the vision of Endure. And again, I'm just thankful. There's no other way to put it. I'm just thankful that.
And again, I am thankful as well. And that's the payoff. That's the synergistic effect. That's when it becomes more than just 1 + 1 = 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1 + 1 = maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And so, I'm hooked on Endure, and because it grows, it changes with the times, yet its core focus, these children, and breaking these children out of this horrific cycle of poverty that they are born into.
Yes.
It's not their choice. They made no mistakes, and yet they're in this circumstance. in your ability to be working in that building and look outside and see a different organization doing something similar and say, I can do that better. And you far eclipse that other organization, right? Yeah. Yeah. You admit it. Yeah, you have. Okay. That's a great organization to hook up with, a great person, a great leader to hook up with. I'm happy to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. And I think we're going to end it right there. I appreciate you.
Everybody have a safe Halloween.